layout was built, and I try to run, when I run post-war sets on the layout, I try to run things that are in the 57 through 61 time period, because that's when it was around, and that's appropriate for that layout. GG1 set was headed by a 2360 Tuscan single stripe GG1. The most difficult part of that set is getting the battery in the GG1 for the horn. But other than that, it's a nice running set. It has the four-truck transformer car, which is a very, very nice piece, very well-made piece, very expensive piece to purchase these days, and has vintage post-war rolling stock. Nothing spectacular, but very utilitarian. I just like the way that set looks. Norfolk and Western J was originally cataloged in 1957. The set that we ran today on the layout was a 1959 set headed by the Norfolk and Western J. Quite unrealistically heading a bunch of military and space vehicles, but that's what the toy train line was like in 1959, as Lionel was trying to develop new markets and really appeal to the space age. Burlington Alco is a very, that set was from the early 60s, I believe 1961, and that engine struggles just to pull those few cars. But it's a cute little set, and for that part of the layout where I ran it, which is basically a circular loop going in and out of the mountain in the rocket launcher area, it's appropriate. The Alaska set, 1959 set, relatively inexpensive set in the 027 line. The only Lionel switcher set engine, I should say, to my knowledge, that had the air brake assembly on the roof, and quite an attractive set. I occasionally also coupled the 6464 boxcar in the Alaska Railroad series, but didn't for the video today.
In addition to the layout and collection of trains and accessories, Steve also has quite a few desirable miscellaneous Lionel items.
Lionel tools, something I always wanted to acquire, and with the help of some friends at York, I was able to acquire almost all the tools manufactured, except for the big steel stamping presses and such, but all of the hand tools in pretty good condition. Gordon Parry, a friend of mine, sold me most of them. I acquired some others from a few other folks, but the collection of tools, I actually do use them. I'm not afraid to use them. I also have a test bench, the 5F test bench, which was the last in the series of test benches made, and one made with Super O-Track and HO-Track. So in keeping with the theme of the layout, the 5F is perfect. And I do get a lot of use out of the hand tools and the test bench. I purchased a ticket office just recently. I won't mention the price, but it was many times over what the original price was in the catalog. I always wanted it. I never got it as a child. I paid dearly for it just recently, but I love it. I have it as a kind of a permanent fixture in the back of the room. And I did decide, I actually purchased it mint in a carton, but I did decide to construct it and put it on display. I think for the Super O layout, showroom layout, I'm pretty much done. I do have another room in the back behind the Super O layout, and I am building a replica of a New York City subway L, and I'm happy to see now that Lionel is offering subway cars as well, and I'm going to finish that hopefully the next year or so, and basically have a 3-stop subway L with brownstones lining either side of the L, trying to recreate the neighborhood in which I grew up, which was Astoria, Queens in New York City. You know, it's funny, when train buffs come into the showroom layout, there's a big wow. There's a big wow, and they immediately dig into the landmark features of the original layout, so they know about it, and they go check out the booth right away. When folks that are not familiar with Lionel or toy trains and are experiencing it for the first time walk in, there's silence. There's just silence, and they walk around in really in amazement. And finally, generally after 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes, say, "My God, did you build this all yourself?" So that's really a proud moment for me. I think those of us that are in the hobby, we kind of take it for granted, that folks that are not familiar with trains think that this is really magic. It just takes patience. It takes years of research, Patience, I would say, is the biggest thing. It's not that difficult, it just takes time. And it's a labor of love, and today folks are not willing to really spend as much time with one single activity as they jump from internet to instant messaging to DVD to whatever. But for those of us that grew up in the 50s and 60s, these were the only toys we had, other than my baseball mitt perhaps or my toy soldiers. So we spent most of our time with this in our imagination. So it's a lot easier for us to recreate now that we're older.
In Lionel Nation Part 2, we featured the original post-war trains Lionel had chosen to introduce their new conventional classics line. Now let's look at the post-war trains Lionel has chosen for their second issue of conventional classics. At the top of the batting order is the king of all Lionel F3s, the Santa Fe in the classic war bonnet paint scheme. The Santa Fe F3 is Lionel's best-selling locomotive ever, and the war bonnet paint scheme is considered the most striking to ever grace any F3. The 2343, introduced in 1950, came with magnet traction. The 2344 New York Central F3 was also released in 1950. The centrals are decorated in the lightning stripe scheme. Set number 2185W will be offered, which includes the 2344 AA diesels. Also included is the 3464 Santa Fe operating boxcar, a Lehigh Valley hopper, a 6465 Sunoco two-dome tank car, a New York Central gondola with barrels, and a 6457 illuminated caboose, featuring ladders and toolboxes. The F3 was post-war Lionel's greatest achievement. Operators love them because they're such great runners. Collectors love them because even during a challenging economy, they hold their value. Everyone appreciates F3s because they're the most attractive diesel locomotives ever made. From 1957 comes the Bud Rail diesel cars. Bud cars were basically motorized passenger cars. Lionel offered two types, an RDC-1 and an RDC-4. The RDC-1 has passenger windows running the length of the car. RDC-4s have access doors for baggage storage and mail service. Lionel's powered RDC-1s are numbered 400. The non-powered versions are numbered 2559. Lionel's powered RDC-4s are numbered 404, and the non-powered versions are numbered 2550. The Bud cars will be offered in two sets, number 404 heading two 2559 cars, and a number 400 with a numbered 2550 car. In 1958, Lionel offered the 1593 work train, headed by an attractive number 613 Union Pacific NW2 switcher. The switcher was available for only 1 year, so it became rather collectible. The consist features a 6476 hopper, a 6818 flat car with transformer load, a 6660 boom car, a 6112 gondola with canisters, and a 6119 DL&W work caboose. The conventional classics are giving today's operators and collectors the opportunity to own reissues of classic post-war Lionel trains at a fraction of the cost of the originals.
We're in scenic Portland, Oregon, where Fritz von Tagen lives. We've known Fritz for over 20 years. He's a longtime collector and operator of Lionel and American Flyer trains. From 1986 to 1993, Fritz was the official photographer for Lionel. During those years, Fritz shot every catalog cover and every train that appeared in the catalog. He loved his work. The 1991 cover with the Hudson going over an arch-under bridge with the Irvington cars below was his favorite. Fritz has appeared in many of our videos, and after he redesigned his train room and layout, we decided it was time to play catch-up.
Yes, we shot 13 years ago. Tom McComas and his wife and son Jeff came out, and we spent a day photographing the layout. The layout was quite a bit different. Than the room was about 7 feet shorter. It had 3 lines of O-gauge track on it, tubular type, and 1 line of standard. It's still 1 line of standard, but now it's 2 lines of T-rail. T-rail, you know, people always are talking about this track and that track. T-rail was out for a relatively short time, and I think it is, as far as running a train, it's the best track that's ever been produced. Well, T-rail is, it has die-cast rails, which are, you know, both good and bad. Bad in that, you know, they can break, if so you have to have all good track, all the ties have to be in good shape if you're going to use that piece of track. It is solid rail. The rails are held together with fish plates, little nuts and little bolts, and that just gives it perfect conductivity. There are also slides for the center rail. I've run on pretty much everything, and nothing runs like T-rail.
Along the outer perimeter of the layout, Fritz has a line of standard gauge track. When it came time to put down the base color, his wife offered an unusual suggestion.
On the last time I had used an indoor-outdoor green carpet, and like I had used when I had photographed the Lionel catalog. My wife suggested that I use a different color, something that wasn't going to argue with the different colors of the accessories on the layout. So she looked around and she found this color called mulch, and I looked at it and I thought it was not a good idea, but she said, let's give it a try. So we got a sample and we brought it home. We started putting accessories on it, and it was incredible. You didn't see the accessory, I mean, you didn't see the background. All you saw was the accessory and the color of the accessories. The mulch color being very neutral just lets the color live on the layout. It's a beautiful combination.